Mm. I miss you guys too, Lisa. It's just not the same, really, without being able to sit in a space together. But here we are for week 7 of a live chair Pilates and stretching class on Facebook Live. Feels like it's been a very long time. I guess it has. 7 weeks is a long time. Today, we're really going to focus on standing and stabilization and the pelvis a little more. So, of course, our deep core, our abdominals, but really taking kind of more of a focus around the pelvis and the way we use our legs, our hips, our pelvis to help stabilize us. So a little more leg work today. Last week we kind of did arms and spine. This week a little more deep core and pelvis. We're going to be standing a little more today than we have in the past, but still mostly sitting. So if you need to sit and take breaks, or if you need to adapt something to kind of sit in the chair to do it, I'll try to be mindful of giving those options as well. That said, we can get started. So take a moment just to find yourself in your chair in a way that you feel supported from underneath, but that you have room around you to move. Find your feet flat on the floor. Ideally, your knees are going to be in line with your hips and your ankles and your toes. Mine have a tendency to come a little wider these days, but you're looking for that kind of stable, even posture. Take a second to check in with your pelvis that you're not rolling back onto your tailbone, but that you're still sitting on both your sits bones evenly, that your weight is dropped, that your shoulders are down, that you have room in your spine to breathe, that your head is just kind of gently lifted long. So no like needing to extend to sit taller, but simply as if gently lifted by a string. And take 3 deep breaths here. One more deep breath. Taking a second to slow it down. We're just going to start gently with the head, dropping your chin towards your chest. Let the weight of your head pull your neck long. And a gentle circle around to one side. This is just about getting warmed up, getting back in touch with our bodies if we've been running around or zoning out on our phones or whatever it might be. The next time your chin reaches your chest, reverse directions. And already check in with yourself that you're not letting your head circles become an excuse to start to slump in your posture. Next time your chin reaches your chest, you can bring it back to neutral. Gentle shoulder rolls back, bringing them up as far as they can go, pushing them backwards and sliding the scapula down along the spine. Continuing to breathe. Reversing direction. So bringing the shoulders up and forward, finding that range of motion, finding the movement in your scapula, in your shoulder blades. And finish. Take a deep breath in, reach the arms up. Simply float and press them down. We're just going to do a few of those to kind of keep that warm up moving down along our torso and our spine. One more. Last one. Take a deep breath in, reach up. All right. Bring the arms back up. You can either leave them here in this position, dropping those shoulders away from your ears. If you'd like to clasp them overhead, I know you can't see my hands, but they are now clasped. You may do that. Or you can use one arm at a time, because we're going to start doing these side reaches to help get some stretch through the sides of our obliques and our spine. But from here, already checking in that with your arms overhead, you're starting to pull those lower abdominals in and up. So as you exhale, if you were trying to exhale fully, your abdominals are going to engage in a way to kind of help your diaphragm move in and up. And that's that same feeling that you want all of the time to support your abdominals, coming from this low place, kind of below your belly button. in a way that your lungs can still expand on top, but that your lower back, your spine, all of your movement is very supported. So breathing the arms back in and up. We're going to take a few gentle side leans, anchoring the hip into the chair, making sure that you're not letting yourself tilt up and out. And up, other side. Inhaling over, exhaling up to help deepen that support in the abdomen. Inhale over, exhale up. Anchoring those hips down, just movement in the spine. Thinking about length. One more each side. Last one. And bring the arms back down. Shake it out, take a deep breath. Hopefully you felt some stretch through here. Excuse me. We're going to keep our spine working. Now we're going to work in sagittal flexion, so front and back. You can place your hands on your thighs or along the sides. And we're going to do a gentle lift through the chest and sternum up towards the ceiling, allowing your back to arch. And as you exhale, contract, round, allowing the head and the tailbone to come towards each other as if they were going to meet. And continue along with your breath. So inhaling to lift, exhaling to round and curve, carve out the spine. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me. Keep going. Inhale, lift. Exhaling, rounding, hollowing out, imagining that you could scoop out through here to create a C shape. Inhale, lift. Exhale, curve. Still nice and slow on a very slow breath. Deepen your inhale and exhale. One more. Exhale, curve. And coming back to neutral. Ooh. So we're going to keep going with the spine. Again, starting to deepen some of the stretch. We're going to do our first twist of the day. We're going to inhale the arms up. As you exhale, twist to reach one arm forward, one arm back. You're going to look over your back shoulder towards your back hand. Inhale, arms back up. Exhale, twist. Now, as you do this, keep going, inhale up. You want to check that you're not allowing your knees to drop in and your pelvis to rotate in the chair, that you're asking your spine to do this rotation. So there's opposition. As my spine twists this way, I'm having to think in opposition with this leg to keep it from following my spine around. So as much as I'm thinking over my right shoulder with my arms and over my left shoulder, I'm also thinking pulling back towards the front with my knees. Arms up. Inhale, exhale. Inhale up, exhale. Inhale up, exhale. One more each side. Inhale up, exhale. Inhale up, exhale. Inhale back to center. Exhale, float the arms down. So getting back into the arms and the shoulders as well as the deep spine there. Starting to pay attention to the way that we're asking our pelvis to stabilize and stay in place as things move around it. It certainly engages more muscles to have to stabilize that way, and it helps us become more stable as we move through our day. So that juxtaposition between stabilization and mobility is a huge theme in Pilates. For now, we're going to turn sideways, and we're going to do a half roll down into a forward spinal stretch. If you've been with me for these 7 weeks, you've done this and seen this before, but I'll still talk us all through it. I'm going to turn sideways again. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully my jacket isn't keeping you from seeing too much of my spine. Again, checking that I am seated tall in the chair, that I'm not allowing my tailbone to tuck under or my lower back to release. Staying seated tall. From here, I'm going to reach my arms forward with energy. As I exhale, I'm going to allow that curving in and up of the spine to deepen that contraction and allow me to tilt the pelvis back and round through the middle back, but not collapsing forward. So that's part of these arms moving forward, helps me kind of prevent that. If my arms are starting to drop, it means I'm collapsing on myself instead of rounding through that middle back. Then coming forward on an inhale. Then as I exhale, sliding those arms forward as if they were going to slide them along the table, reaching forward and returning. So exhale, inhale, lift. Exhale, slide. Inhale, return. Keep breathing. Keep using your abdominals as the initiation for all of your movements. So imagine that your torso isn't allowed to move until your abdominals say so. Reaching long. Last one. And let the arms lower down. Shake it out if you need to, get a drink if you need to. I think we've got one more kind of warm up movement, and then we're going to do a little bit of arms and then really move into legs and abs. I'm going to turn back to face you. I know I do a lot of flip-flopping. And we did these a few weeks ago. I might tilt the screen down so you can see me a little better in just a second. But all we're going to do is take leg circles along the floor to kind of help warm up our hips, warm up the leg, and really, again, give us an opportunity to check in with that idea of stabilizing in the pelvis. So I'm going to tilt the screen down just a little. I'm actually going to take off my shoes because they get stuck on the carpet on the floor. So pardon me. And from here, again, sitting probably about as far forward on your chair as you can comfortably do so that you have room for your largest range of motion. We're going to slide one leg out along the floor, draw a semicircle, and bring it back in. That's it. Out, around, bring it back in. Part of our focus actually is on this leg that isn't moving. So this leg is going to be grounded, rooted, firm in the floor, still engaged, not allowed to wobble, keeping itself very still. So as much as this leg is moving, I'm actually asking you to pay more attention to this leg that is stable to see if you're using your abdominals and your glutes and all of this musculature here in your pelvis to keep yourself stable from kind of rocking side to side, letting your knee wobble in and out. So we're going to do 10 in each direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we're going to reverse direction. So we're going to slide it out to the side and in. 1, oh, you see me knee move. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Take a rest. If you're truly working to stabilize this leg and try not to let it wobble, you should already be feeling this. Maybe lower back, a little in your glutes, maybe in your quads and your hip flexors. It means you're working. You're really paying attention. Other leg. Slide it out and around 1. Oops, there's a little bobble. 2. Ooh, gotta work a little harder. 3. 4. My range of motion in this leg isn't as wide with stability, so I'm having to cut it just a little smaller in order to balance between the mobility of this leg and being able to stabilize this one. I think this is 8. Sorry, I started talking. 9. 10. And reversing directions. Sitting out to the side, bringing it in 1. 2. 3. There we go. That's a better stabilized leg. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Take a deep breath. If you need to round over and let your lower back stretch out by laying forward over your thighs, you can do so. I don't have that range of motion anymore. I get stuck. But please allow your lower back to relax. Stretch it out. Find a little means of stretching, opening that feels good to you. And then we'll move into arms. So I'm going to tilt the screen back up so you can see me a little better again. Hopefully that's a good angle. Welcome back to my face. We're going to keep arms pretty short today, just 2 specific arm exercises because our arms are going to support us in other things that we're doing. So they're going to get their workout in, but not as focused today. So take a deep breath, arms reach in and up. Bring your arms out to right angles at the elbows, trying to keep your elbows in line with your shoulders, not letting them dip, keeping them lifted, but keeping your shoulders down. So not letting this happen. Bringing your forearms together, trying to get your elbows to touch first or at the same time as your forearms, and opening them back up. Now you might not have quite that flexibility, and that's fine. But I want you to think about reaching your elbows together, not the palms of your hands. So it's not an exercise for the rotation of the elbows, but about squeezing the forearms together and open. Still offering yourself that support through your lower abdominals, scooping in and up along your spine. Every exhale is another chance to connect with that feeling again. Exhale, close, and open. Close. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one. Inhale, exhale, close. Inhale them back open. And lift them up to bring them down. Roll the shoulders out. One last arm exercise. We're going to float the arms up towards our sides. Bring them front. They're going to cross one over top of the other. Switch and open out to the side. Switch, switch, open. Now pause for a moment. Again, thinking about stability. As we start going, it's really easy to find that the pelvis wants to rock or the shoulders want to jump kind of in response to this switching. And so again, we're trying to isolate the movement to the arms and using our core to stabilize the rest of us so we don't find ourselves kind of in this little mini rocking chair. So here we go. Switch, switch, open. Switch, switch, open. Finding support from your lower core, belly button scooping in and up along the spine, feeling as if your abdominals were pulling in from the bottom, the same way you might tighten a corset, although I don't really like that imagery because I don't want you to feel like you're getting cut off from your breath. Keep breathing. Two more. 1, 2. And float them down. Shake them out. Take a second to get a drink of water if you need it. And we are going to move into our abdominal series. So we're going to take a moment to focus in on the abdomen, really do what would be the equivalent of a very focused abdominal series on the mat. A lot of things that you might recognize as similar to crunches or bicycles. We're going to translate them into the chair a little. So I'm going to turn sideways for most of this so that hopefully you get some idea of alignment, even though I have less and less of that these days. I'm going to turn sideways. I think I'm going to drop the screen a little bit so that hopefully you can get a little bit better picture of my knees and legs as well. So pardon me for all of these little adjustments that I make. And we're going to start with the 100, which we've done before, but it is the one where we go into our half roll down, which we practiced earlier, exhaling to bring us into a rounded place through our pelvis tilting and a little bit of a reach through our lower and middle spine. If from here you would like to deepen that engagement in the core and take it back on a tilt, as if your whole middle back, kind of between your shoulder blades, we're going to reach for the back of the chair, you can. Make sure that you can support yourself here with your abdomen and that you're not collapsing and that you're not relying on your hip flexors gripping to keep you in place. This really should be abdominal support. If you find that you're starting to feel a pinch in your hips or tension in your neck, bring yourself back up for a moment, take a release, and then go back into it. This is the one where our arms pulse, and we breathe in for a pulse of 5 and exhale for a pulse of 5. So from here, bring the arms in and up, exhaling, tilting back, turning the palms down, and inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, in. 8, in, out, and bringing it back up and release, just to get the blood flowing, the heart pumping a little bit. We're going to go back into that half roll down and do alternating thigh lifts, which is exactly what it sounds like, just a gentle lift in the thigh. Imagining, if you can, the image of somebody maybe scooping your thigh from underneath rather than having to kind of grip to lift. So taking out that feeling of having to like work against gravity, but almost as if somebody were going to just come through and whoop, pick up a leg for you, whoop, pick up a leg for you. So we're going to start here, exhale, come into our half roll down and lift. 2, 3. Lift. This is set 5. We're going to go for 10, 7, 8, 9, 10. And bringing yourself back up to sitting, arms down. We're going to take ourselves right back into that half roll down. It's going to start with a thigh lift, touching our knees just to kind of help us indicate that we've lifted, but certainly not holding them. Roll down, thigh lift, extend. So you're extending arms overhead, more or less, it's hard for me to show you and look at you, in line with your ears, and leg extended out long so that you're keeping it off the floor, but it certainly doesn't have to be up at a 90-degree angle. Really thinking more about a diagonal through the arms to the leg and the body. Rolling down, in, extend, in, put it down, other leg. in, extend, in, put it down. You have the option of taking the arms straight overhead and straight back down, or taking them overhead and sweeping them around and down, kind of feeling the fullness of the range of motion in your shoulders. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Down. Inhale. Exhale. And bring yourself back up to sitting. And float the arms down. All right. If you feel like you're starting to grip in your hips, take a second if you need to. Drop a thigh, stretch out the front of that hip. Drop the other one, stretch out the front of that hip. Take a second for a little spinal twist if you need to. Anywhere you're starting to feel that tiredness, that pinching, that gripping, take a moment to breathe into that area and really give yourself a stretch there. Check my notes. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to stay seated side. You have an option here. You can either do this one from this half roll down place, or you can stay seated upright if you feel like you need a break from that half roll down, and you'll just lower the height of the leg. All we're doing is 15 leg lifts. We're going to do it with that little bit of rotation that we talked about previously in previous weeks. So from here, if I lifted my leg, I'm going to imagine that the whole head of my femur, the whole top of my leg rotates outward in the socket, and that helps my knee kind of face a little sideways, rotating out. It's hard to see in my black pants, I'm sorry. So we're going to take that little bit of rotation to give us a little more range of motion and help combat the desire to grip in our hip flexors. And all we're going to do is pulse up for 15, but slowly. So not these quick pulses that we've been doing with our arms, but really just a slow lift and return. Arms extended front. If you'd like to take the half roll down, do so here. Leg extends and lift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep stabilizing in this knee. The knee that isn't moving should be still. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Bring it down. Bring yourself back up. Doing a very small half roll down. You're welcome to join me in that. Exhale. Half roll down. Extend the leg. And 1, 2. Move forward. 3. Stabilizing in this knee. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Bringing yourself back up to sitting. Arms down. All right. We're going to do one more exercise seated, a little bit of stretch, and then we're going to finish the rest of the class standing. I'm going to move back to face you so you can see me a little better here. This is the seated equivalent, more or less, of doing a bicycle crunch, but I want to be very mindful that I'm asking you to rotate in the top and lift in the thigh, but not drop towards the thigh. So we're still thinking about that idea of moving upward and outward every time we rotate the spine, keeping our spine long. I think I've used before the imagery of like when you go to open an umbrella, how you kind of squeeze the button and then push it up along the shaft of the umbrella. So same idea, you're going to squeeze from your lower abdomen and let that kind of pull you up along the length of your spine. rather than feeling like the elbow needs to come to the knee. My thigh lift doesn't go very high, and that's fine. It's about this opposition and stabilization through the legs, through the pelvis, so that the range of motion here, there's mobility, but that kind of added challenge of continuing to stabilize the pelvis while only using one leg on the floor. So we're going to do 10 to each side. So a set right left is 1. We'll do 10 total. Arms here and twist, twist. Three. Now certainly go for your range of motion. It might be much more than mine at this point. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whew. Last one. 10. Arms down. All right. Again, if you're able, drop your chin towards your chest. Let the weight of your head pull your spine forward, rounding over towards your feet. Let your spine and your head hang. Let gravity pull and stretch you out for a nice spinal stretch. I cannot do this, so I'm going to pause for a moment and let you do this. And I just want you to feel the weight of gravity, letting your shoulders come forward, your head drop, your spine get stretched long. I'm going to do my best. You might want to shake your head outside to side to help loosen up those muscles, remind you to relax through your head and neck. And when you're ready, take an inhale and slowly roll back up to sitting, stacking one vertebra at a time until your head arrives and you're sitting tall again. We're going to also take another spinal stretch. We're going to think about it in terms of curving into C shapes. So if our spine, we're going to form the shape of a C, we're going to do it to the front and to each side, to the side, to the back, and to the side. If you imagine maybe a circle, maybe the size of a hula hoop, that you were going to stretch your head and tailbone over and around to kind of help get that C curve, that curved shape, without dropping and crunching down on your spine, but still keeping a sense of length, up and out, up and over, up and back. So we're going to stretch to the front as if you're stretching around the hula hoop. Inhale, come up. Exhale to one side. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lift up and over to the back. Come back to the top, other side. And up. One more time. Forward and up. This time go to the other side first. Up and back. Coming forward. Last side. Up and over. And up. Last thing we're going to do sitting, just because we've already been working our hips a little bit, is the figure 4 stretch. So bringing your knee in and up, allowing your hip to kind of fall into its socket, crossing over ankle at knee if you can. If you can't and you want to give yourself a little platform by straightening out that leg and just crossing over as far as you're able, whether that's at the ankle or the shin, and opening through the hip this way, that's fine. If you're able to get your ankle to your knee, come to here. You're going to think about letting this knee drop away, letting that hip rotate in the hip socket to open up. And if you want to deepen that stretch, you're going to lean forward towards that leg just a little. Take a few deep breaths here. Bringing yourself back up. Pulling the knee up, letting that leg drop. Other side. Crossing it over. Allowing this thigh to rotate open, in the hip, knee to drop. If you want to deepen the stretch, leaning forward into it. Take a deep breath. Bringing yourself back up, thigh up, and drop. Get a drink of water, and we're going to move to standing. I'm going to re-tilt, maybe, so that you can see all of me, or maybe I'll leave it like this and you just won't see my head all of the time, but some of the time you will. We're going to start, I'm going to turn my chair sideways. We're going to start, as always, with toe heel rocks. This is a wonderful way to test your balance, to test your stability. All we're really doing is shifting weight forward over the toes so that we can lift the heels slightly off the floor, and shifting the weight back over the heels so that we can lift the toes in the front. I won't tilt the screen. Hopefully you understand what I mean. If you want to come all the way up into what some people would call a calf raise, or standing on tippy toes, by kind of raising yourself up onto the balls of your feet and then rolling through the foot to shift back over the heels so that you can lift the toes off the floor. You can do that as well. That adds a little work to the ankles and the calves. Calves, calves, calves. Take a deep breath. Drop the tailbone. Drop the shoulders. Spine long. Abdomen supporting you. Hands on the chair if you need it. And rocking forward and back. Forward and back. This really makes all of the little muscles that help to stabilize us, whether that's in our abdomen, our hips, kind of our hip flexors, the rotator muscles, our glutes, all of those things. In our ankles, it makes them work. It gives them work in ways that they don't necessarily always get if you're trying to work large muscle groups. And these are the things that really allow us to maintain our balance and stability over time. Keep going. You can certainly test yourself. See if you can do it without touching. Push your range of motion. Can you lift more than just your toes? Can you lift the ball of your foot off the floor as you go back? A few more. Last one. And back. Passing the knees out, letting the legs kind of relax. I'm going to turn back to the front. Long enough just to kind of do one more spinal stretch here. Since we're standing, we have room for it. Same concept as before in the very beginning. You can lengthen through the arms, you can clasp the hands, or you can use one arm at a time. And we're going to do that long C curve again. But again, today I want the focus to be on your hips and your pelvis, so that the spine is lengthening up and out away from the pelvis, and not that you're shifting side to side over one leg or the other. So you're going to keep your weight evenly distributed, lifting up and out to lengthen through one side and return to the other side and return. One more each side. And up. And side. And up. Float the arms down. Were you able to pay attention to your pelvis? Were you able to feel if you started to shift off out of place? It's also a practice of learning how to pay attention to those aspects of our body, to kind of turn our mind inward and use our proprioception to see if we can figure out what our body's doing without always necessarily having the feedback of a mirror right in front of us. Although if you have a mirror, that's fantastic, and I'm a little jealous. From here, we're going to move into stretching the flat back. So using the chair, walking, let's start this way a little further so I don't walk myself off screen. Walking your feet back until you've reached a flat back. I'm going to say the same thing I always say. Make sure that your hips are over your knees, are over your ankles, and not that you are pulling forward off your feet or pulling back into your hamstrings. That can lock our knees, put pressure on the joints. It also can cut off your blood flow, and it can overstretch your hamstrings. So you really want to be in a nice aligned flat back. You can drop your head in alignment with your arms, ears, shoulders, elbows are all in the same line. Take a moment here to enjoy this stretch. We're going to turn this into an exercise. We've done this before. You can either stay here and enjoy the stretch if you like, and that's fine. Or from here, you're going to give pressure, push down through your triceps, through the backs of the arms. Use that to lift the chest and the head through, looking forward, and release back down. So this is not happening because I'm looking up and crunching my neck along my back. This is happening because I'm pushing down through my arms into the chair and lifting my chest forward and releasing back down. Making sure your abdominals are still scooping in and up, supporting your lower back, not releasing. Lift and down, and lift and down. This is far more work than it looks like if you're actually pushing against this chair here, keeping your abdominals engaged. You might feel a stretch through your lower spine. You might feel that your lower back is working to help you in this lift. That's great. That's actually a good thing. Making sure your knees aren't locked. So if you feel like your feet are starting to tingle, you might want to shake your knees out a little bit. Last one. Lift and down. Let the spine soften, the knees soften, curve, walk yourself back into standing. Whew. From here, I'm going to turn my chair this way, I believe, so that you can see me quite well. We're going to do, no, I want it facing me. So you would want to walk yourself around to the front of the chair. We're going to come back to this plank position. Now, depending on the height of your chair, you might be a little higher, that's fine. If you find that you're a little too low, that your shoulders are dropped below your pelvis because of the height of your chair, you might want to roll up a towel or put a book or something else here to kind of help give you a little more lift, because I don't want you so low, unless you have amazingly long hamstrings, that you're putting extra pressure and stretch in your hamstrings right now. That's not what this exercise is about. So we're going to come into this flat back. And the same as if we were planking, you want to keep your shoulders pushed down towards the chair. You want to keep your shoulder blades drawn in along your spine. You want to make sure your abdominals are still supporting your lower back so that it's not released. And you want to keep your shoulders away from your ears. So everything is long, everything is pushing actively towards the chair to help keep a long spine. From here, you're going to have to stabilize through your shoulders in this space. To rotate, lift one arm up towards the ceiling. Exhale, rotate, carving through to try to look towards the ceiling underneath. Rotating back up and returning back to the chair. Other side. Up. Exhale through. Inhale up. Exhale down. You might have more of a range of motion and a twist than I do at this point. Great. This is mine for now. And down. Keep scooping in and up. Let every exhale remind you to use your abdominals to support your spine. Left. Exhale through. Inhale, lift. Exhale down. Inhale, lift. Exhale through. Inhale, lift. Exhale down. Now, if this works for you, keep going. I'm going to pause for a moment. You keep going. Inhale, lift. Exhale, twist. If this is too much for you, you can do something similarly, either standing with a twist, don't let your pelvis do what mine just did, and carving around to twist to this side, opening back up, or you can take it seated into the chair in the same way. Open, carve, open, and close. So being in this plank position doesn't work for you. You can do it standing upright or sitting. For those of you who kept going, finish the set that you're on. Make sure that you're even on both sides. Come to finish. Soften the knees, soften the spine to roll up out of that chair. Hopefully you're feeling that in your arms as much as your lower back and your abdominals. From here, we're going to get into some lunges and some more thigh and hip work. Pardon me for 1 second. I'm going to turn my chair back around so that I can use the higher back of the chair for support. From here, I'm going to take 1 step back into a lunge, bend that front knee. Now in this instance, I actually am fine if you want to give yourself a little bit of a forward lean so that you can feel like your weight is firmly now on this bent supporting leg, because this leg needs mobility. So I am actually going to tilt the screen so that you can see my foot a little bit on this one. But in this case, I know in weeks past I've said lunges, trying to keep yourself upright. This lunge isn't about a stretch. We're going to add an exercise to it. So you can lean forward with a long spine so that you can shift your weight over that supporting leg so that this leg has range of motion to move. Hi, Deborah. I see your little comment. From here, stepping back, lunging, leaning into that leg if you need to. You're going to bring your foot in and slide it back along the floor. As you come back in, you can crunch it further towards the front as if you were going to curl it towards your chest, those thigh lifts that we've done while sitting. Or you can simply bring it back in along your other foot on the floor, if that's enough for you. But you're really keeping your weight in your supporting leg here. Very little weight or no weight is in this foot. So my foot right now actually isn't even touching the floor really. Sliding in and back. In, back, in, back, in, back, in, back. Last one. Bring it in, soften the knees and the spine to stand up. Other foot, step back, give it a little lunge in the front, shifting your weight forward over the supporting leg if need be, giving a little lean, bringing that knee in and out, sliding it back and in, back, and in. Keep breathing. Keep using your abdomen to support your lower back. Pulling in and up along the spine. 2 more. 1, 2. Bringing your foot back in, softening the knees and the spine to roll back up to standing. All right, from here, I'm going to bring my chair around to the front. We're going to use it as a support to do some side lunges. I'm going to move it actually out of my way to show you what we're doing so that it doesn't obstruct your view. But we are going to lunge out to the side. I'm going to talk about alignment again. This is not a big lunge to the side. So knee is going to face forward. Toes are facing forward. Everything is staying in this parallel position. Hips, knees, toes, all facing forward, not rotating outward. As you lunge, we're going to go to the side. You're going to lift the leg to return to standing. From here, you want to add an extra little side lift and down. If possible, without placing your foot back in the floor, we're going to go right back into that little lunge, which is why it's a small lunge. It is only the size of your little leg lift. You're letting it come down into the floor and return, lift, return. Down into the floor, return, lift, return. Keep going. Down into the floor, return, lift to the side, return. This exercise, however, can be stops along a train. If the lunge itself is enough for you to just come in and out of a lunge, do that. If you can get your foot off the floor, but you're not so sure you can get this lift in, let the lift go. Up, lift. Still paying attention to the pelvis, that it is the mobility of the leg that is moving. And from here, it's my leg, not my hip, lifting my leg up. It's actually quite small. It's not a very large movement. Last one. And putting it in. Taking a little bend in the knees if you need to, shifting into that hip to stretch it out if you need to. I'm going to change my chair to the other side. Same on the other side. The size of your lunge is just where your little leg lift comes to. Lunge, return, lift. Lunge, return, lift. Oops, you can see I used my pelvis there instead of my leg to do the lift, which is not what I want to be doing. And up, lift. Clearly this leg is my less flexible one. Keep going. Lunge, return. Check that your hips and your knees and your toes are still facing the front. Lunge, return, lift. Lunge, return, lift. Lunge, return, lift. Last one. Lunge, return, lift. Take a bend in the knees. Take a shift into that hip. In fact, let's do that intentionally. Take a moment to shift into one side. Just pushing that hip out. Like you were showing somebody the side pocket of your jeans. And shift into that other hip. Give a nice little stretch through there. One more standing leg stretch, and then we'll finish up for the day. We're going to do some very slow and controlled leg swings. I'm going to call them swings because of the action, but not because of the speed. So you're going to want to stand at least slightly off from your chair, if not off to the side completely. And all we're going to do is slowly bring this leg forward, not very high off the floor. This is not about range of motion. This is about stability. We're trying to make sure that our pelvis doesn't tilt front or back. You can see that there's a slight shift in my center of gravity, but what you don't see is a pelvis tilting under and a pelvis tilting forward. So my upper torso is not moving. Certainly you can use your chair for support if you need to. Two more. That's one. That's two. Now we're going to do the other leg. Swinging it forward. Again, not about height, not about range of motion. about trying for stability in the pelvis, making this standing leg work, pushing down into the ground as if you were rooted, keeping your glutes and your abdomen engaged, your deep core engaged to keep your pelvis stable, to make sure that you're not rocking forward and back through the pelvis or the torso. That is quite a view, isn't it? 2 more. 1. Last one. 2. And bringing it down. All right, stretch us out for today. We are going to do just a good old-fashioned lunge. You can use your chair if you need to. Taking a step or a step and a half back, driving that heel down into the ground, sending the pelvis forward, making sure that you're not releasing through your tailbone, which gets rid of this nice long stretch through the hip. And just taking a good old-fashioned lunge. Softening the knee to come back up to standing, other leg back. Taking a few deep breaths here. Soften the knee to come back to standing. If you're capable and you would like to, we're just going to go for a forward hanging stretch. So you're really just going to reach for your toes. If you want to use your chair, and this is a good stop for you to get a stretch through your hamstrings, great. If you want to drop down to your elbows to get more of a stretch through your hamstrings, awesome. If you want to use the side of your chair to help you walk towards the floor, just to get a nice hanging stretch, you can drop and release your head. You can drop and release your back. Hang down as far as you're able towards your toes. I can only go so far anymore. But hello, everyone. This is me upside down. Take a nice stretch. From here to stand up, you're going to soften through the knees. And you're going to imagine that you're trying to drop your tailbone back down towards the floor first and slowly roll up 1 vertebra at a time until your head comes back in alignment with the rest of your spine. Moving this back just so you can see me. We're going to do a quad stretch. So you can either use your knee in the chair to help you reach towards this ankle. I'm going to stretch through the quad. If you're able to grab your ankle or your foot, please do so. You really want to try to drop your knees in alignment next to each other and not let them shift out and away or shift forward. Just stretching through that quad. Again, it might be enough that you have your knee in your chair to reach for the foot. Or you might be able to get a hold of that foot and really pull that quad for a stretch. Switching feet. See how my knee was sneaking forward? Trying to keep it in alignment as much as possible. And letting that foot drop. Coming back to the chair, just to finish with a few breaths. I'm a little cut off. And since this is our last thing, I don't want to miss out on seeing you seeing me. Sitting comfortably in your chair, feeling length through the spine, taking a moment to take 1 or 2 deep breaths on your own. Breathing the arms up. Exhaling, pushing them away. Bringing the arms up. Exhaling, drawing them in and down. Exhaling, the arms open, sending the thumbs back towards the wall behind you. Exhaling, wrapping those arms towards your shoulder blades, allowing your chin to drop to your chest. Inhaling the head up. Exhaling the head down, the arms down. 1 more deep breath here. Exhaling out. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully it was a good workout. If you feel your lower back, if you feel your glutes, if you feel your hips today, you know you've been working. Giving them some love and some rest and some extra stretching is probably not a bad idea. Please drink some water. And hopefully I will see you next week, but I am now on the clock. This girl could show up any day, so if I don't see you again, I wish you all the best of health. Otherwise, I'll see you all again next Tuesday.